Welcome to Duffy's Arcade. Yeah, it's been a while since I made a video about the pinball room, so I figured, hey, why not? I'll make a fresh video and go through each machine and just talk about where they came from, how they ended up in the collection, and things I've had to do to them. So, yeah, this is our arcade that we've converted our two-car garage here in our house into our arcade. And I'll talk a little bit about that at the end, what I've done to the room. But starting with the pinball, I got into pinball about 2.5 years ago. I was making arcade games, and I sold a couple to a guy. And I actually bought this from him, this Williams High Speed. This is my first pinball machine I ever bought, and it's about 2018. And it was a total basket case when I got it. Absolutely trashed. This thing had been routed. It had been used on route with an operator, and the playfield was a total disaster. It looked nothing like it does now. I have some photos. Maybe I can get them uploaded to the video to show you what it looked like, but let's just say I have a couple hundred hours into this machine. When I got it again, the playfield was totally destroyed. I have since replaced this playfield with what's called a hardtop by a company producing these for only about 15 or 20 games now. They have maybe about 15 games where some games out there, that the playfields are worn out. You cannot find a replacement playfield anywhere. So this company, Outside Edge, makes these replacement playfields, and this goes down over top of the wood and gives you it's a polyacrylic surface, and the artwork is printed underneath. It's totally glossy, and it really looks incredible. So I did that, and also the machine had a lot of electrical problems with it. Inside the back glass here, where the main board and the sound board and the power supply and all of that stuff lives, there was acid damage on the boards. I had blown transistors, I had coils that were burning up, I had, you name it. I ran into it on this game, and it taught me a lot. I've really learned a lot about pinball, rebuilding my high speed. So, learned how to go through the wiring diagrams, and then I wasn't scared to buy old games, because my first game I bought was a total project. So, got it finished, and it looks really great now, in my opinion. Had the high speed for about 2 months or so, and started getting the urge to go out and find another game. And Williams High Speed was like the gateway drug into pinball for a lot of people. Just the way it played and what they did with this game. I mean, it's you got to look up the history of high speed. It really was something in its day. 1986, by the way. So I found this Pinbot in Germany when I lived over there. And Williams Pinbot, one of the greatest pinball games ever made. Widely regarded to be one of the greatest ever made. And I absolutely love the theme. It's a space theme. It's got incredible music. And you can see on the back glass, basically you're controlling this robot up here, Pinbot, right? And part of the game is to give him sight to lock the balls up in his visor here, and then the other part of the game is to travel through the solar system. You've got all the planets here. You've got the Voyager spacecraft here on the playfield. Super game, and it's really tough. It's a difficult game to play, not easy. Looks very simple, just 2 flippers, and but it plays really fast. And we love it in the house, and absolutely love the theme. And yeah, so had the Pinbot. The Pinbot was in good shape when I got it. I didn't really have to do a whole lot to it. The guy that had it before me didn't really know much about pinball, and he had drilled some holes here on the side and had some free play buttons there. He didn't know you can actually set the game to operate without quarters by going in the menus. So I have to fix that, but beyond that, maybe 1 or 2 small little issues with maybe a coil or something wasn't functioning, but we got it to 100%, and I did replace the displays here. You can see that high speed still has the original plasma displays. These are high voltage. This is a replacement LED display. A little bit pricey, but it'll pretty much last forever, at least the rest of my life. And these old plasma displays are really difficult to find. If that display goes bad, I'm kind of out of luck. You know, pretty much have to replace it with a new one. So anyway, Pinbot, super game, love it, and I was lucky enough to find one in decent shape. You know, the big thing with pinball is pinball was never meant to last forever, and these machines that you see were made for one reason only: to make money. They were not built to collect and to cherish and to, you know, look beautiful for their entire lives. So, some, you know, machines like high speed, the playfields would get totally worn out, and you know, when you find a pinball machine, playfield condition is the key. I mean, if the playfield isn't in bad shape, you can have a big trouble trying to fix that. Luckily, Pinbot original playfield, it has mylar over the playfield. And the mylar is bubbling a little bit. It's lifting here and there, but it's still in good shape, so I'm not going to fool with it. So the third machine that I found was Funhouse, Williams Funhouse. This is from 1990, and this game had a replacement playfield that had been put down by a previous owner. He was doing high-end restorations in Germany, and he did a replacement playfield, and he put a clear coat over it. And this playfield is also immaculate and will last for virtually forever in my home. But yeah, Williams Funhouse is a fantastic game. I mean, it has this talking dummy head on the playfield. I mean, what more do you have to say? Rudy, he's great. He's creepy. Some people don't like him. You know, I'll start a game here quick to show you. Yeah, there's Funhouse. So, yeah, Rudy, he's got a lot of character, and he taunts you and talks to you through the whole game, and it's a great theme. I don't think Funhouse is ever going to leave my collection. I'm going to turn Funhouse off quick and turn it back on so the music will quit. But yeah, Funhouse is a fantastic game, fantastic theme, and it was an instant home run in our house. Everybody loved playing it. And yeah, it's never leaving my collection. It's there were quite a lot of them made. I think there were around 13,000 Funhouses made. So they're not rare, but they are holding their value, and they are not easy to find at an affordable price. Let's put it that way. I've started to put some LEDs. These games here, I've put LEDs in the back glasses, LEDs on the play fields, because the incandescent bulbs, like you see here, they put off a lot of orange light. You can see that, and you can definitely see it in the back glass. If you compare Twilight Zone, you can see the difference in the colors between Twilight Zone and Funhouse. Twilight Zone, I've put LEDs, some sunlight LEDs in the back glass. Funhouse is all still incandescent, except for this light up here. So I'm slowly working through this. I'm gonna LED Funhouse, at least the back glass. The playfield is a different story on Funhouse. But super game, definitely recommend finding one and playing one if you ever get the chance. It's so fun, and you might like it. So anyway, I got those three games, and took a little bit of a break from pinball for a while. I shipped all of our household goods back to the States, and I was living in Germany pretty much with nothing. And before I left, I found a deal on a Twilight Zone, which you know, Twilight Zone is a favorite of mine. I watched the black and white episodes when I was a kid. My dad got me introduced to that, and really loved the theme. Loved the old shows with Rod Serling in the 1950s, and Twilight Zone is one of the most collectible and most desired pinball machines ever made, and it commands a very steep price. So it was difficult to find one in my price range. But this machine was owned by another collector, and he was getting some new pinball, brand new pinball, and was spending some pretty big money on that. So he was selling a couple games, and he had this Twilight Zone for 20 years. This Twilight Zone is from 1993, and he had gotten it from a guy who had it home use only. It had literally never been on location, or at least that's what he told me. And ended up at his house for 20 years, and I bought it from him. And this is a collector in the Netherlands. The playfield is in fantastic shape. There's not a blemish anywhere. There's no damage whatsoever. Sometimes you'll get wear spots. You'll start to get wear where the ball hits at a certain spot again and again and again, and it'll wear the artwork off the playfield. The playfield on Twilight Zone is in great shape. The cabinet is in great shape. The back glass is perfect, and the cabinet's in great shape. Electrically, I've had just a couple little minor problems. The clock is notoriously difficult to keep running in Twilight Zone, and they do make some aftermarket boards that you can go in there and replace the electronics inside the clock. My clock, sometimes it'll come up and tell me that the clock is broken, but it actually works. Actually, right now it's displaying the time. I think it's actually maybe it's not displaying the right time. Maybe I just jinxed myself. But normally it displays the right time, so I'll have to check that out. But Twilight Zone, it's had a couple mods. The guy who had it before me installed the slot machine. And the reels actually move when the ball goes through the track. That's pretty cool. The little Robbie the Robot here. And what else did they put on? What else? I think that's it for mods. There's a bunch of different things you can get for Twilight Zone and mod the game. I built and made my own topper for this machine. This is designed to look like one of the old black and white television sets from when we were growing up. And it runs on a Raspberry Pi 3. It's got a little laptop LCD in there from an old laptop. It runs on 12 volts. So it has a little micro SD card in there and just cycles through video clips. It's about a 20-minute long clip that I made, and kind of plays some background shots from the old series. So, and I have replaced the LEDs, or excuse me, the incandescent bulbs in the back glass on Twilight Zone with LEDs, with sunlight LEDs, and it really brings the color out. I think it looks great. Behind Rod Serling, I put some color changers. These are all color changers. And then there's a flasher LED here. And then all the rest of them are sunlight, except for some blue ones up here. So, yeah, that's Twilight Zone. Twilight Zone is she's the centerpiece of the collection. So she's going nowhere. And it'll be the last machine I sell if I ever have to sell my collection off. So, so with Twilight Zone, again, I was still in Germany and bought Twilight Zone right before I left. And really a couple weeks before I left, I was on an Italian version of Craigslist one day called Subito. And I found a Gottlieb Robo War, which is a game I'd known about from YouTube, from a pinball channel that I follow. This game is pretty rare. There were only about 2,000 made. Most of them went overseas because Gottlieb was exporting a lot of games overseas at that point. Williams and Bally in the late 80s, early 90s, they had the market in the US, being in Chicago. And Gottlieb was making games, but most of them were not too good. I have 2 Gottlieb games here, and I have 2 of the best Gottlieb games sitting right here, Black Hole and Robo War. So Robo War is an oddball. Not too many of them out there. Really hard to find. And the playfields were not protected on Robo War. So if you find a Robo War, chances are the playfield is totally destroyed. Like mine was. 100% trash. This game should have went into the dumpster. Most people would not have done what I did to bring this thing back. So what did I do? Well, the short answer is I did everything. Let's start at the top. Totally rebuilt the speaker panel here with the LED display. Brand new back glass. Got that from Mayfair Amusements on the internet. The light fixture wasn't working. The MPU wasn't working, the main board. The soundboard gave me all kind of problems. The thing was blowing all the fuses. The playfield was 100% destroyed. The plastics were not too bad of a shape. I did go back and try to heat some of them up and fix them, and some of them need some touch-up. You can see the paint flaking off here. The plastics were probably the only part of the game that I could really salvage. At least on the playfield, that is. So what I did with the playfield was, I actually stripped the entire playfield, took every single thing off, just like I did with High Speed, except with High Speed, I bought myself a replacement playfield. For Robo War, there's not a single replacement playfield in the world anywhere, period. You can't find them. Nobody makes them, nobody sells them. That's it. So what I did was, I had a printer in the Netherlands. I had this graphic that you see, the colors. This is the graphic, it's the playfield. I had my printer in the Netherlands print this out on adhesive vinyl for me. And I had been working with him on some arcade games, like I've got over here, 2 of them, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But so he printed me this graphic, and I threw it in a box, and I shipped the Robo War and the Twilight Zone back to the States when I moved back. And when I got here to Delaware, I started working on this, and it took me about a month, maybe about 5 weeks. But I took the old playfield, completely sanded everything off of it down to bare wood, clear coated it, put the new playfield on top, clear coated over that with an automotive clear, and then all these little inserts I had to put the lettering back on, right? It was a big job, but I have a really decent Robo War now. Not an original playfield, but this game would have went in the trash otherwise. So also repainted the sides here. It's kind of hard to see with the lights off, but yeah, I'm super happy with it. It's a pretty rare game, and it's got a killer soundtrack. So look it up on YouTube. Look up TNT Amusements Robo War, and you'll get a really good video of Robo War and the soundtrack behind it. Like I said, it's pretty slick. So okay, so after that, probably when I moved back here to Delaware, maybe about a month later, I was on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, something, and I found a guy down in Richmond, Virginia that was selling a black hole. And it was about a 4-hour drive from my house, so it wasn't too close, but 8 hours of round trip driving, and I brought myself home a black hole. And if you've ever heard of black hole, if you've never heard of black hole has 2 playfields. Has an upper playfield, as you see, and there's a lower playfield down here, which has its own set of flippers. Sorry for all the reflections. So there's 2 flippers down there, and there's 4 flippers up here. There are 2 pop bumpers down there, and there's 4 pop bumpers up here. There's drop targets down there. There's drop targets up here. This game has got so much going on, and I have done a little bit of work to this game when I got it. Everything worked except for one of the banks of drop targets here would not reset properly. It kept blowing the fuse every time we tried to reset it, and it turned out to be a bad transistor that's on the main board in there. So I fixed that up, and it's been working great ever since, really. I added all the LEDs. You know, it had incandescent bulbs like these other games do. I put blue LEDs here, some white flashing LEDs behind the spinning circle with the black hole. And then, you know, the colors up here for the planets and Gottlieb, and the lower play field here I illuminated with ultraviolet strips. You can see those come on. And did LEDs throughout the top here. So yeah, that's my Gottlieb black hole, and I love it. The back glass on this game has got to be one of the most beautiful. It's actually 3 different layers with a glass here that has some stenciling or some tinting on it, and then the back glass that says black hole, and then behind that is this spinning artwork. And then you've got the lights here, which normally incandescent, but I've put LEDs in there, and it's got this infinity mirror effect, if you see going back there. It's really great. And the good thing about buying a game like this in the United States is the black holes that were exported overseas, they don't have the spinning backlash like that. It's a stationary fixed backlash like this. So if you buy one in the US, you can find it with the rotating backlash, which is actually really killer. So yeah, black hole. It's a wide body game. You know, it's a wider machine than your standard Gottlieb. You know, Twilight Zone over here is also a wide body. And it was a great addition to the collection. So that was the last machine that I bought. Last machine that I specifically went out to look for. My wife and I went to a pinball hall up in New Jersey on the coast, on the Atlantic coast, a place called Asbury Park, or it's in the town of Asbury Park. Anyway, there's a pinball hall there, and she played Roadshow, and she fell in love with it. She really liked it. And it's like a sister game to Funhouse. It's got, this time, 2 of these talking dummies on it. And it's like a construction theme where basically these 2 workers go around the country smashing up all the roads. It's kind of a weird theme, but it works, and it's actually a lot of fun. And they sit there and talk back and forth to one another. And as you go through the game, you kind of travel across the country, and you go to all the different cities and whatnot. So it's, yeah, she liked this game. And, I found one. I found one up in western Pennsylvania, near where my mother lives. And took a road trip up there, picked up the game, and went and saw my mom. And got it back here in the lineup. So Roadshow is here. It's the latest edition. And it's also a wide body game. 1 or 2 little problems I had with this game. The jaw on Ted, this is Ted and that's Red, and his jaw would not open and close properly, and it was the one of the gears down there. There's a motor that operates his mouth. One of the gears was stripped out. Beyond that, not really a whole lot. I had a flipper issue, I think, a couple of weeks ago, and it turned out to be the switches here. But no, Roadshow's been really reliable. I haven't had any issues at all, and hoping it stays that way. Having 7 games in the lineup, I'll tell you, it becomes a bit like the game Whack-A-Mole, where you take care of one problem and another one pops up, and then you take care of that problem and another one pops up, and you just keep going from machine to machine. And I won't lie to you right now, I have a problem on Funhouse that I already fixed once, and now it's back. This flipper here. Flipper coils have a high current and a low current coil in them. They're actually 2 coils in one. The high energy coil flips the flipper, and then the low energy coil keeps the flipper up if you hold that button down. So the high energy coil side of the flipper coil here is not working. And I already repaired it one time, and it's back again, so you got to fix that. But yeah, if you have a large collection, you have to expect that you're going to have some maintenance problems. And I don't play these games a lot. I play them, a couple times a week. I'll be out here for an hour and a half, kind of like I am tonight. And but they're not on location, so they're not getting played a whole lot. But they do have some small issues. So that's the pinball situation. Now, the other things in this room, you saw me look at the Miss Pac-Man. This is a Miss Pac-Man cocktail-style arcade cabinet. And this actually I built from scratch back in about 2005, 2006, somewhere around there. So I've had this for, 15 years or so. I built this from plans I found on the internet, and bought the coin door that came off of an old arcade game. The controls, I've gotten the controls through the internet, the actual Miss Pac-Man, joysticks and arcade buttons. This is a piece of glass that I had made down in Kansas City. It's tempered, tempered piece of glass with the radius cut here on the edge. So I built that, and it was running on a computer. It was emulating, arcade games. The computer didn't last but a couple of years, so I got tired of fixing that, and now it runs on a Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi little microcomputer. Same thing that's running that Twilight Zone television set up there. And a Raspberry Pi will run this thing all day long, and yeah, it's basically foolproof. I'll never have to fold this again, most likely. So yeah, this is a nice little project that I really enjoyed, and it doesn't get a whole lot of play anymore, but when people come over, they do play it, and it emulates, hundreds of games, whatever you want to emulate. Donkey Kong, Frogger, Miss Pac-Man, Galaga, anything, any arcade game, you can emulate Nintendo games, Sega, anything you want, So I built this. I built this back in 2005, and when I was in Germany, I decided I wanted to build some bar tops. Now, bar top arcade machines now are kind of a dime a dozen. I mean, they sell them at Walmart, and but I was doing this before Walmart was. And I'm going to turn the lights on to show you these machines, because I built these from scratch, and did the artwork myself, got the graphic online, and then got it printed out at my printer in the Netherlands to the exact size I wanted. Same thing with the control panels. Okay, I created this control panel graphic and Photoshop, or I think I used GIMP, and then I printed it out exact size. Same thing with the bezel here, and the marquees. Got the marquees printed out. So all these pieces I made, cut the plexiglass, cut the whole cabinet, all the wood, the whole thing from scratch. The back marquees here are backlit with a LED, or excuse me, strip LED 12 volt that's in there. And these both run off of Raspberry Pi. So, yeah, dual controls here on the Mario Brothers. So you can play a game where two people play, head to head, or they play together. Mario Brothers, they played, at the same time, right? And this is a horizontally mounted monitor. You can see that. And then my Donkey Kong here is a vertically mounted monitor. So this will work for like a Galaga, a Burger Time game, something like that, where the monitor was vertical and over here is horizontal. But they'll emulate the same game. You can play Donkey Kong on that one too. It's just I had them set up this way just so that they're, I built them in the design of the Nintendo cabinets with the speaker here in the front. That's how the full size were. And, I really like them. I wish I had built full-size cabinets, and someday I probably will, and perhaps I'll sell these or whatever I'll do with these. But they were my the two nicest ones that I built. I built about 13 of these cabinets, and I sold them. I sold them off to people in Germany, and used the money to buy Pinball. A lot of the money went into the Funhouse, and then probably the rest of it went into Twilight Zone when I was doing that. So yeah. And a couple of other things in here, a little sign that somebody made me for the bicycle that I ride. And here's my maintenance area. It's kind of a mess, but this is where I get all the parts and organize them for, all the different little things you need to keep pinball machines running. It's not a ton of stuff, but it's enough, that you need, and definitely need a soldering iron and good soldering station. And this is in a garage, so I want to be able to work out here all summer long, all winter long. So one of the first things we did after we painted the room and did the floor was install air conditioning and heating. And this is a Mr. Cool mini split ductless air conditioner is what it is. And this thing has a compressor unit that sits outside. And then you only have to drill a hole basically about that big. And you run everything out there. And then this just mounts on the wall. And now I have heat out here. I could turn it on my phone. If I'm coming home from work, I can turn the heat on in here. And by the time I get home, it's already pretty warm in here, and I can come out here play pinball. And I don't have to freeze. And in the summertime, when it's southern Delaware, it's pretty hot down here, down by the beach, humid. You can turn the AC on in here and get it nice and cool. So yeah, that's the pinball room as it is now. And this video is about a half an hour long, so I think I'm gonna wrap it up. But just wanted to give you guys an idea of what things look like. Sorry about the mess on the table. I didn't really clean up too much, but yeah, you can see the games here with the lights on, and the cabinets are all in really good shape on these machines. A little bit of fade, a little bit of color fade on some of the artwork, but you know, that doesn't really bother me that much because these machines are going to sit in a lineup like this, and you're hardly ever going to see side art. You know, as I collect more machines, these machines are going to get closer together, and you're going to see the side art even less. So that's not a deal breaker for me. And if I can save $500 or something, you know, just because the artwork is, you know, faded, I'll tell you right now, Funhouses are going for big money, and you know, if you can get 20 or 30% off because of faded artwork, you can actually replace this artwork for about $300. You can get brand new artwork for the entire machine. And definitely don't let that stop you from getting a machine that has artwork issues. So yeah, just get yourself a machine and play it and fix it and learn how to fix all the little problems. It's actually a lot of fun. And yeah, that's a pinball room. So thanks for watching, and hope you watch the whole thing. And I'll be sure to update you with the next addition to the arcade room. It might be a little while, but there'll be more coming. All right, take it easy.